back to the Rochester Local Podcast. I'm Becky Maupetit, the owner of Rochester Local, and here we are, episode 6 of the Rochester Local Podcast. We're with Lida Casper today, and we're so glad that you've joined us. Before we get going with Lida was invited on the podcast by our first guest, Catherine Richard-Jones. So, hi, Lida.
Hi, Becky.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you, and it's good to be here.
I'm so glad that you're here. So before we jump into these great questions that Catherine has for you, will you tell us, what do you do?
Sure. So the title of my position is called Coordinator of Community Partnerships. And I do a lot of different things, but specifically in the area of community partnerships, what I get to do is what I really find the most fun and interesting is I really get to learn about the needs and the assets across our community, and then work with a variety of people, organizations, community-based organizations, individuals, to kind of respond to those needs and to in really innovative and interesting and fun ways.
Wow, that sounds really fascinating. And I bet that there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that we would have no idea about. Tell me something interesting about your work or something that you've done recently.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I've been really invested in lately, and I'm only 5 months into this job, so relatively new still, but one of the things that I've gotten to really focus on is working with our housing stability team within Olmsted County. And so one of the partnership that we're working on right now involves some legislative funding that's allocated to Olmsted County. And so the way that we're using that is we've hired 2 navigators to support students and families who are struggling with homelessness in Rochester. And I mean, you moved to this house in 2019, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you're familiar with how challenging finding housing is in Rochester in general, and even if you have resources, right? And so, but if the task becomes much more complex with the fewer resources you have, and so these housing navigators are really going to. We're calling them Hope Navigators, housing outreach to promote education. Okay. And so they'll be able to work and connect with students or with families to ensure that they have safe and stable housing across our community so that kids can engage in schools. Wow. Right?
That's incredible. That's incredible work.
Well, you know what's fun about it is I think it's a really positive and powerful reflection on not only the power in partnerships, but I think it's a really good reflection of our community and the sense of collaboration to solve really difficult challenges that we face, and working together with experts in the area, and then including people who have lived experience, and leveraging just existing community resources to make a difference across our community and improve outcomes for all kids. And really, and when we say improve outcomes for all kids, we are also talking about outcomes for our community, because when our kids are thriving, our community is thriving.
Absolutely. 100% stamp of approval. I love that sentence. And I just think about the power duo that the Rochester Public Schools and the county are. I mean, you've got a lot of resources, Becky, that you can pull together, right? And it's not, it's oftentimes, I mean, obviously the resources help, but when you have people who are invested and in improving outcomes across our community and relying on both our assets and our needs. Powerful stuff.
It's powerful stuff.
There's
a lot of opportunity when we work together.
I love that.
Yeah.
What a cool job. Thanks for sharing.
It is a cool job.
Thanks so
much
for
job.
sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to get into the questions that Catherine has for you.
Okay,
ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's go. What podcast are you listening to now?
I have been having a hard time falling asleep at night. I'm kind of naturally a night owl.
Sure. I get that. Me too. Yep.
So I started listening to a podcast called Sleep With Me.
Okay.
And
tell me about it.
Yeah, it's someone's very therapeutic voice. And he really talks about nothing, but it's pretty monotoned, pretty mundane.
Just like gibberish.
Like he speaks in circles. He tells you what he's doing. Like in terms of like.
And it does put you to sleep?
It puts you right to sleep. I mean, literally, I played it last night, and I don't know. I probably fell asleep in 20 minutes. Which
do you have like AirPods?
No,
in,
you know
what?
what? It's not my setup is not good.
Oh.
It's my iPhone or my Google phone laying right next to my head. So it's not great.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a hot tip. You need these. It is like
is it something for my ears?
Yes, it's perfect. Listen, so it's like a headband. It's a fleecy headband. You know, like those kind that would cover your ears, like you would wear them in the winter or whatever. Headphones built in. Bluetooth.
That's a hot tip.
Bluetooth.
Is it
headphones.
like? Are they going in your ears?
No.
Because I don't like.
No.
I don't. That's what I dislike about
no,
earpods.
it's literally the outputs are right at your ears, and it's adjustable. And it's soft and it's flat.
Do you have one?
I do.
Okay. Good.
I'll show it to you. Right. Yeah. I'll show it to you.
That's a good hot tip.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, I'm kind of a podcast junkie.
Yep.
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I wish I read more right now, but like my kids are little and so I have to listen. I'm doing tasks and listening. And so another podcast that I've been interested in lately is Connie Walker is a Cree journalist, and she has put out a few different podcasts, including one called Finding Cleo.
Okay.
And it's really about missing Indigenous women. Primarily, and so she actually does a few different podcasts.
Wow.
But
that sounds really interesting.
It's really interesting, and it's obviously really historical.
And brings awareness.
A lot of awareness, yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What's the last photo you took on your phone?
Oh, well, I have two little kids. I have a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, and so this last weekend. We had my son's friend spend the weekend at our house as his parents were in Mexico.
Lucky parents. Yes,
really lucky parents.
Yep.
And so we were lucky and we got to have their son with us. But anyway, my daughter decided she was going to make each of them their own little pillow. And so she sewed them.
Sweet.
She's got a little kid sewing machine. And so she made them each their own pillow, and they're matching, and so that's the photo that's on my phone.
That's
the last
that.
photo.
That's really, really sweet.
Yep.
And a good opportunity to show them when they're older too that they loved each other so much. I love that.
And I totally foster like that creativity in my kids too. Like that is, I love that they are creating and they're making things.
Oh, that's so good. Then that you can have that little memento going forward. She'll love to see that when she's older, for sure. Okay, you have 8 hours of uninterrupted Rochester time. Where are you going? Who are you taking? And what are you doing?
Becky, where are my kids?
Your kids are somewhere safe.
Okay.
They are with someone that you trust 100%.
Excellent. Okay.
Yes, like you are free as a bird. You have no responsibilities.
Okay, I'm into this.
Yes.
I'm into this. Okay. I think what I would do is I'd probably first cook myself something that no one else in my family would eat.
Okay. Good
So
plan.
that probably
Love
would
that.
be like I'd make like a Thai peanut sauce and maybe have like some chicken and cauliflower with that. I know.
Sounds
it's good.
like a delight.
Yeah, so I'd do that. I'd make myself a nice lunch. And then I'd probably like go to Trader Joe's or TJ Maxx and probably browse the shelves at TJ Maxx.
Something about browsing.
I know it's I feel like it just uses a different part of your brain.
It's just kind of therapeutic in a way. You kind of like look at things and nothing is so consequential, right?
Right.
You can get it.
Yeah.
Or not get it.
Yeah.
No, I like it. I'm with you on the browsing.
I would try some clothes on, which I never get to do ever.
Yep. Perfect.
So yeah, that's it. And then maybe I'd take my dog for a walk.
Yeah.
Take her name is Maple.
Maple.
And I'd probably take her maybe a walk around Silver Lake Park.
Yep. A lot of nice places to walk. Quarry Hill, Silver Lake.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There are plenty of places.
Nice.
Yes.
And then what? One more thing. Oh, I would probably have a friend meet me out for an appetizer. I love it.
I mean, this sounds like a great day already, but
doesn't it?
What a great way to cap it off. Probably go to one of my favorite places in Rochester, kind of on a whim, is Forager.
Forager.
Probably go to Forager, get a sheet ton of nachos with a
Sheet
friend.
ton, yes.
And probably order some of the artisan beers there. Like just, the little samplers. I love that.
Yep.
I love trying things.
Well, it seems like it. And I like, speaking of artisan, they foster such a creativity and have such a special place for the artistic and creative community with the art that they curate.
Yeah.
Right now it's Amy Krause. Shout out to Amy. She's a local artist. And then the music. I love that all of their labels are done by an artist too. And so that's really fun for their beers.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Yeah, I think they, when I was actually picking up my sticker for this podcast.
Oh, I love it.
Yep,
Okay, we'll get to that.
I was walking across the parking lot and I saw one of the brewers carrying a large pail, 5-gallon pail of barley.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it's just a good reminder that, that they're, I like that they're creating.
Yep.
I like it. And you're right. I like the vibe that they foster and I like that they bring in local artists. And I like that they have handmade goods. Big fan of that. Love the craftsmanship.
Yeah, it's just a really good community hub there.
Yeah.
Yep.
They have coffee.
I know. And a great breakfast.
Yep.
Love that breakfast.
Did you ever have their Driftless donuts that are now with Old Abe?
Yes, the Drifto.
Yes.
Yeah, so good.
Thank you, Drifto.
Yeah. And Abe has them now too. And it's hard to say, but he's made them even better.
Yeah.
He's perfected it.
I know. I actually, last year for my daughter's birthday, we ordered a bunch of donuts and made like a little donut cake with Old Abe's donuts. And it was it was a crowd pleaser.
I love it. That's what we do for our kids. That's one of our traditions is a donut tower in the morning.
Oh.
And when they wake up, they always get a donut tower.
Yeah.
All right. Next 8 hours of uninterrupted time you can bring me with. Does that sound good?
Deal.
Okay.
I'm into it.
What Rochester event do you love and why?
I love anytime people are together. So I love like community events. I love summer concert series. I think that's awesome. I love live music. I love specifically that area.
Yeah.
Where it's a stunning area.
Right.
You're between the water, you're by the art center, you're right downtown.
So much good stuff.
And there's
right there.
and there's all just all the public art.
Yes.
I was really one of the things I worked at Riverside before this current position. I worked at Riverside as the community school facilitator there, and we worked with Art for Trails on one of those sculptures. And the sculpture is called the Send Off.
Yep.
And it's symbolic of, it's a figure throwing a paper airplane, and symbolic of our communities sending our kids off into the wide world.
Oh, I love that.
I know.
And so it's such a good visual picture.
Yes. Do you know the sculpture? Have you seen it?
I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so great down there.
And it's one of my favorite parts is that the kids created all of these little origami structures and installed them in different local area businesses. And so actually those are inside of the base, like the little origami pieces that the kids created that informed the sculpture.
Wow, I did not know that part.
Well,
That's
kind of a little
cool.
known fact.
Yeah, it is. It is a little bit of secret.
So anyway, great art. Yeah, it's a great area.
Oh, it's such a good area. This just makes me look forward to the summer.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Sitting here in the middle of, what are we? Last day of February.
Yeah. Whiplash is what I would call this.
Exactly.
Snow
We'll
and
get
rain.
there. Okay, what's something that would bring excitement to Silver Lake?
I'm just a big fan of accessibility for kids and families. That's one thing I think a lot about. And so I guess, I don't know exactly what that would look like, but maybe access to the water.
A little bit more of a cleaner spot.
Yeah.
To access the water.
Yeah.
Safe
And
spot.
I think a lot about the mental health challenges that we're seeing right now across our community. And I think about how important, getting outdoors and engaging with your family or caregivers outdoors, getting vitamin D.
Yep.
I just think as much as we can build that into our lives,
Right.
the better all of our mental health will be.
I don't know. I always think about a day that I've spent outside and how beneficial that is to
I know.
me,
Just
and
get a little.
just incorporating it more into kids' lives.
Yeah,
Right?
definitely. So that if I were going to change something, I think I would make that area a little bit more.
And there's so many
accessible.
spots that you can do it. There, it's a unique park because there's a road that splits it, and there's, there's the east side of Silver Lake's totally different than the west side, and then you've got
Right.
the skate park and the swimming pool,
Yeah.
and there's all kinds of ways.
I know.
My actual favorite spot of Silver Lake is right at 11th Avenue and 7th Street. There's kind of like this little dip down. There's forest and the creek on one side.
The Bear Creek.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And then there's the accessible playground. And then there's 11. And so there's just this little field down there, and it just feels really special.
Lovely.
And lots of nice tall trees down there. So.
I know.
All right. Well, we'll put you on the task force then to decide what goes down. Okay. Fill in the blank. Rochester is really good at...
I would say connecting. Connecting. Yeah.
Yep.
I think, and I, it's a work in progress, but it's in the 10 years I've lived here, there seems to be a real, just increased interest in building stronger community connections.
Yep. I would agree with that. I think too, part of it is the secret sauce. A part of that is the size. Rochester's at this great size right now where you can still get things done, where you can, with relatively little difficulty, you can work to find connections, and that are just harder in a bigger city or a metropolitan area.
Right.
And you think about the vibrancy of the people that come here. They're, all over the world, and international patients and different people that move here, and they just bring experience and breadth and depth. And I just think with our size right now, there's just a richness.
Yeah, there absolutely.
And like a desire for people to connect.
Right. I was listening to the school board meeting the other night and learned that 96 languages are spoken by families.
That's amazing.
In Rochester Public Schools, which is really a beautiful
thing. I would
thing.
be really curious to hear how that would compare to a community Rochester size elsewhere.
Right. Yeah, I wish I knew more.
That would be really fascinating.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, I mean, it has to be the clinic, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's a large part of it.
A huge part of it. And then the refuge that Rochester and the state of Minnesota has really been to East African immigrants, specifically too, I would imagine. And Southeast Asian too. Lots of vibrancy. Oh, we're lucky. We're so lucky. All right. You're going to a movie and you have room to sneak in 3 snacks. What are they?
I'm going to buy them. If I'm going to a movie, which is a rare occurrence for me.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I'm going to buy that popcorn.
Yes.
I'm going to buy the popcorn.
The big one.
The big one. And I'm going to get me a Diet Coke. The
big one, the one that's like a gallon.
And I'm going to pretend like I'm going to eat that popcorn when the movie starts, like after the
the previews.
Yep, after the previews, but really I'm going to have half the bucket gone by the time the movie begins.
Well, of course. Yeah. That's how people eat.
Yeah.
That's how people eat popcorn at the movies, and you can get a refill.
It's so good.
And then you get a refill on your way out.
Yes. Yes.
But, I don't know a single movie theater, or I might be wrong, that has Diet Coke.
See, that just tells you how long it's been since I've been to a movie.
Right. So maybe you can sneak that in.
I might have to. Yeah. Or get a Diet Dr. Pepper. Do you think they have Diet Dr. Pepper?
That would be my number 2.
Okay.
But not Diet Pepsi. Not Diet Pepsi.
Yeah. No, me neither.
I would choose like a decaf coffee over Diet Pepsi. Sorry, all you Diet Pepsi mom or people out there. My mom, for example. All right. Well, you've got one more snack. What are you going to bring?
Oh, okay. So if I'm going to bring in a snack, my husband is a huge fan of sour candies.
Yes.
Like I'm talking like Sour Patch Kids or like those. There's like these. They almost look like fruit roll-ups, but they're like laced with sugar.
Yes, what are they called? Like
I don't know. Like whips or something.
Yes,
I don't know.
or like ropes or
yeah. There you go. Those things. Tape. Yes. And you peel them apart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so
that's what I would ideally want the Diet Coke and a big thing of popcorn, and then we would share some sour
candy, something like that. You got your salty, you got your sweet, you got your bubbly. You're good.
Yes.
Sounds like a good plan. All right. What's your go-to karaoke song? I have asked this question of almost everyone that's been on.
Almost everyone or everyone?
Almost everyone, okay. I think. Yeah.
Right. I think you asked everyone, I feel like, but
I probably have. It's a good question.
It's a good question. On the flip side, on the unlikely event that I would ever do karaoke, I would likely I would likely select, it's gotta be an oldie. It's gotta be hip hop, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would probably select the first CD I ever purchased by Salt and Peppa.
I'm going to guess the song.
Guess the song.
Shoop. Am I right?
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Very necessary.
Totally.
1993, I was 10 years old.
Perfect.
I was living the dream, listening to my CD in our little shared family boombox. It's funny because now, like, my kids listen to Spotify, right?
Oh, sure.
And so they're looking at the lyrics.
Yeah.
And I think about how when we were kids, like, you would either take the cassette tape or the booklet inside of the CD.
Yeah.
And, like, you'd get the lyrics that way.
Absolutely.
And now...
Yep. Yeah. No, like how you get it off your phone, right?
Now it's like scrolling and yeah.
Okay, so as a little aside, but I feel like it's parallel to this. So speaking of tapes, when I was younger, I rode the bus. My family lived right in Orinoco, but my whole life was in Rochester. I did all of the Rochester things. So I would record the Dr. Pepper Top 9 at 9 on KROC. And then I would spend all night, so that came on at 9. It would finish up at like 9:40. I would spend all night dubbing that tape and making copies.
Yeah.
Then
Isn't
I'd
that
bring
funny?
my boombox
love
onto the bus, and I
it.
would sell the tape.
You were a hustler then.
I was. KROC, I have bootleg copies from like 1991 if you want them back.
So speaking of asides, I have a little aside about KROC. So my family, speaking of podcasts, my husband and I, for like our entire adult lives for sure, have been pretty big fans of public radio.
Yeah.
Right? It's pretty much all we listen to. We listen to The Current or we listen to 91.3.
Yep.
That's it.
Absolutely.
And so recently my kids discovered KROC. And they discovered KROC on the bus. And so we are
so crazy.
So we've been laughing about how have we damaged our children by just providing them with exclusively public radio and fun. They suddenly found great joy from the bus drivers. I love it. I love it so much.
Oh my gosh, that's so hilarious. But you just think about how different it is, and like radio. That's what everybody.
I know. I love radio. I still love radio.
Life is nuts, man. Life is just nuts. God, that's a good story. Those are two really good asides. All right, where do you go locally for a cup of coffee?
Okay, so typically I brew coffee at my house.
Yeah.
So every morning I pretty much. But if I'm gonna go out for coffee, I'm gonna select likely one of 3 locations. I'm gonna pick Dunn Brothers Coffee on Elton Hills.
Yep. Great shop.
Potentially. I would go to Cafe Steam. Yeah. It's another favorite. Or Old Abe Coffee.
Yep.
And the reason I would select those 3 is because I love that they really seem to focus on community.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
It's so true. You have that feeling when you go in there.
Yeah, and they've demonstrated it also, and so I just appreciate that so much that, that's where I want to spend my
I love that.
My dollars.
As a little aside to Abe and Will with Cafe Steam and Abe with Old Abe are buddies.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're buddies and they, support one another, but they do a lot for the community, but a lot for the community that the community never even finds out about.
Right.
They're humble and generous and gracious guys. And
they say yes.
Yeah, they do.
I know.
They do a lot of good things. So good picks. Love those. All right. Last question. Best Rochester adventure you've been on?
So my favorite Rochester adventure, like I said, I've only lived here for 10 years, but my favorite Rochester adventure is we have a canoe. And we will drop the canoe in the Zumbro River, and then we'll drop a car. Well, we'll drop a car first.
Yeah.
Drop a car first, and then put the canoe in the Zumbro River and float. Do like a float, and it's a stunning opportunity, and it's so close to home. We usually go right around the Millville kind of area.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's honestly, when you're on that river, it just feels like you're gliding over an aquarium. There's just fish.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, animals. You see It's very quiet, very serene. You don't feel like you're actually in the Rochester area at all.
Or Minnesota even.
No, I don't even, yeah. I mean, honestly, it reminds me a lot of, I lived in Alaska for a short time and for 5 years. I guess not that short of a time, but but it reminds me a lot of the winding rivers of Alaska. So
fascinating. Well, they're, the Zumbro, if people haven't had a chance to see it outside of Rochester, they might be surprised to hear that it's a very clear, beautiful river.
Yeah. And it's really untouched,
it's
Becky.
So
like
untouched.
It's what I just find completely wild is like you look along the banks of the river and you don't see a bunch of houses, you don't see development, you don't even see the road.
No, it's just so natural, right? The river is a river and it's carved its way there over however long, and it just reminds you how well we're really fortunate with where we live.
Right.
In the southeast Minnesota. It's got such interesting geology and the landscape and everything, but we're not far from it. So this is going back to what you said before about getting out in nature and how good it is for our mental health. And so we're just so lucky. That sounds awesome. But you said something, and I'm going to come back to it because you said you lived in Alaska. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
Just what took you there and how long were you there and what did you do?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a little bit of my history. So I started teaching in New York City.
Okay.
Bronx, New York was my first teaching assignment. And so I lived and worked there and I was just super inspired by people and by culture and just by life. And just, it was such a different place than Wisconsin and Minnesota, the Midwest where I'd grown up. And so I was just curious about people and culture and life and learning. And so I ended up being interested in moving to a rural village in Alaska. And I was fortunate and really privileged to be able to live in a place called Manicodek, Alaska, and another village called Nustiahawk, Alaska, where they're two small fishing villages right in Bristol Bay, it's called. Right on the Bering Sea.
That is amazing. And so you lived there, you said for
5 years.
5 years? Have you been able to be back?
Not yet, but actually this summer we're hoping to take a trip to Alaska. We still have our Alaska Airlines credit card, and so we've got miles.
Yes, you have miles. Perfect. And your kids are a perfect age.
Yeah, they're 7 and 9 right now, and so they're totally ready for it. And so we've got some friends that we'd like to go back and visit, and
perfect.
So we're looking forward to that.
Go for a month.
Yes. Well, I don't know if we'll go for a month, but couple weeks.
Absolutely.
Couple weeks. We'll do some fishing.
Oh my goodness
some subsistence.
Sounds fantastic. Well, thanks for sharing about that. And thanks for sharing about you and about your life and about how you live in Rochester. All right. So the last thing that we like to do on our podcast is we pull out our sticker board. And if you've seen a Rochester Local Podcast episode before, you know that this is our sticker board that we have that shares a sticker of a business in Rochester. So Lida has something that she's going to share. What you got for us?
So I have the Forager sticker, which I told you that I really like Forager.
Fitting.
It's got a good vibe.
Yep.
It's got a good vibe. Artisan place.
Yep.
There you go.
Perfect. Look at that. Now, I think you have a bonus sticker.
I brought a bonus because I have many of these. So my family has been campground hosts in the Superior National Forest for the last 3 years, and we're not doing it this year. But I had a pile of these, and so I thought maybe you'd like to have.
I would love Smokey. Yeah, well, mostly because I love the forest more than anything else, and Smokey's all about protecting
fire awareness, right?
Fire awareness and protecting our forests, right? Oh, excellent. Yeah.
So where do you want it? Where do you want it?
Yeah, perfect. Right up in the corner.
Okay. There you go.
Excellent. He's going to be guardian.
There you go.
Well, Lida, thank you so much for joining us on the
Becky.
Rochester Local Podcast. I'm so happy to have you here, and thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.